quite interested on how you kind of deconstructed the entire situation. So I have like three variables in my mind, which is colonization, capitalism, and in the recent elections you see this mobilization or re-emergence of forward caste vote bank.
Yeah.
So how do you see the interaction of these three variables going forward? Because it's quite critical, quite like against the grain of what you're trying to achieve or articulate.
Okay.
Do you want to respond to that?
Okay, I can respond, yeah.
Okay.
What's your name, sorry?
So it's
No, what's your name?
Aman.
Aman, thank you. I think, and that's, I think we need to, that's what I was trying to also break as to how these three regimes have, actually they have used various lenses depending upon situation just to adjust. So when you talk about caste, the capitalist kind of fragmentations or superstructure takes place, or if you talk about capitalism, the other regional kind of mobility. And I think this has to do with, people have tried to find excuses to, excuses to grant a certain legitimacy to, let's say, see, I think, and I believe in what, actually Ambedkar's plan was, which was through Republican Party of India, and of course his Labour Party as well as Scheduled Caste Federation, which was not actually a caste party, it was anti-caste party. But the Congress and other regimes learned from Ambedkar's effort and supported that to make their own ideas into casteist party. Because I think that was one of the successes of Congress, and now we see the failure coming out. And Congress and BJP both are, Ambedkar would say left and right hand side of the same body. And to add to that, I will add the left party also is the third hand if there is one. Because they will still, for example, the forward caste or the non-Brahmin caste who continue to, frame. And I think that is a miseducation and undereducation, especially the Shudras or the, because they were targeted, they were given land. During colonial times, these castes were given land. After colonial times, Congress strengthened them more. Because the primary fear for Congress or any other casteist regime was the rise of Ambedkarite consciousness among all the masses. And when it's an Ambedkarite consciousness, it is actually trying to challenge the structure whichever they are living in. So what they did was, so that the untouchable consciousness remained in control, they made sure the local landlords or the local dominant caste people, because in every village there is specific caste which is dominating, they granted them lands enormously. And after granting them lands, in short time they politicized them. They brought them into political equations. And that's why we see today many regional parties, erstwhile it was Congress's hegemony. But right now, in every region, in every landlord castes or the landowning caste belong to Congress or any other parties. So if you have to refute that, one of the things we have to tell the forward caste is that they are still dependent, they are not independent. By controlling untouchable doesn't mean you are superior, you are still lower. You don't have access to wealth, because that's why we have reservation arguments that people are like Jats as well as the people in Patels in Gujarat and Marathas, and it's gonna go because they don't see them in the positions. But also second thing is they see more Dalits in the positions. That's the jealousy. That's the insecurity to see how the hell does Dalit from this village is now becoming an officer in certain, So they see these equations playing very well, and they don't want it to work in, because for them development of Dalit goes against their own development. Because if you don't have untouchables, why do we need India? India needs untouchables to survive. The day India untouchables will cease, who will be the next untouchable? Jats or the dominant caste will say, we don't want to be. And that's why there is this kind of constant strength and struggle of each caste to strengthen its own purchase has become a problem. In the capitalist regime, when we talk about this, there has not been any significant change among the forward castes. We just have to look at the statistics. In the OBCs, they are one of the first performing groups. But what happens is, among the OBCs, there is an upper OBC who is always playing the card of OBC, but letting other, because OBC has more than 3,500 castes. the backward classes people. And the backward classes people are having constant struggle with the dominant, regime. And I think that is where we need to break, and that is where we need to, create a kind of a osmosis of the lower caste groups. And I think Kanchiram did it very well. After Ambedkar, it was only Kanchiram who could bring this formula into action, where he said, we are 85% and we will need 85% of the share, period. Don't talk to me more. जितनी संख्या जिसकी जितनी संख्या भारी उसकी उतनी भागीदारी और हिस्सेदारी, whatever you call. And I think that was a very classic plan, and that gave many people a critical caste consciousness. People started questioning this hegemony and dominance. And even today, the people who are the forward caste or the Shudras equivalent, they know that they are lower, but they're happy that Dalits are still lower than them. But now what happens is, in the one generation, Dalits are actually progressing compared to them. And now they cannot see this. And now they are trying to find various reasons to put down Dalits. And that's what they were one of the active participants in making sure the protection against the Atrocities Act, POA Act, the SC/ST Act, they made sure that this was loosened so that more crimes could be committed. And I think it's a space where we need to think, how do we get all the oppressed groups in the society in one conversation? Because again, I told and I made this statement, I said, even Brahmins are oppressed by dominant caste Brahmins. But that Brahmin will not see his pain like the Shudra will not see his pain as equivalent. But you are suffering. You cannot marry who you want to marry. And there is still a problem. And I think we need to educate this undereducated people who are just, wandering about like a headless chicken around and trying to provide their own new agency without them having any agency.